Woo! What's going on, y'all? It's your boy RickyMoto. Welcome back to yet another video. Oh boy, we are coming down to a fast stop. Before we get into this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new. We have a lot of motorcycle videos coming soon, motor vlogs and modification videos, so stay tuned for that. But in this video today, I'm going to be talking about the Yamaha R7 versus the Yamaha R3. This video is dedicated mainly for beginners out there. If you're looking to get a new bike or your first bike and you're looking at the Yamaha R3 or R7, hopefully I can give you some points about the differences between each bike and which one is better for your fit. And especially because I've owned both bikes. So a little bit of history. My first bike was a Kawasaki Z125 Pro. My second bike was an R3, a 2021 R3. And then my third bike, which is the one I'm riding on right now, is the Yamaha, is a 2023 Yamaha R7. But anyways, jumping right into it, I'm going to talk about a couple of different categories. The first category being performance. Now the power of the R3 and the R7 are pretty comparable to some degree. It's not like they're so crazy to the point where beginners can't ride either or, which is why the R7 and the R3 both have been very popular beginner bikes, because with the R3 being obviously the slightly less powerful one and then the R7 being a little bit more powerful. Something I want to say is that, like, when you first ride a motorcycle, if you have no experience, you're gonna actually realize motorcycles feel a lot quicker than you think. When you're watching a video, you can't really gauge the actual feeling of that speed. Like, I'm going 40 right now, which in a car feels like nothing, but this feeling that I'm getting at 40 miles an hour, it feels like I'm flying. The perception of speed becomes so much quicker because you can feel the wind blowing on you. You can feel the forces because you're wide open. So with that, you're gonna realize very quickly that, holy cow, it feels like I'm flying. When I got my first bike, the Z125 Pro, I would be going like 20 miles an hour and I feel like I'm going 60, So your perception of speed is so different on a bike. The R3, a lot of people think it's slow. It's not. Compared to a car, you're not slow. You're pretty freaking quick. It's a 300cc bike, and on paper it can hit 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds or so, or a little bit less than that. That's actually pretty quick for a 300. If you guys are like, oh, I don't want a 300, it's a baby bike, you're gonna be faster than every possible car on the road, any normal sedan, any normal SUV. A lot of people kind of say the R3 is slow, but once you really start riding, and if you're a new person riding it, you're gonna notice it's really not that bad. It's actually pretty quick. It's a very forgiving bike. It's not like it's gonna jump at you. It's very, modulated power. So when you're hitting the throttle, if you were to yank on it by mistake, it's not gonna just jump at you and scare the hell out of you. It's a very linear power band, so it's very smooth and accelerates very gradually. So I think for beginners, if you have no experience, the R3 is absolutely perfect in terms of the power. The R7, on the other hand, it will jump at you. If you pull on the throttle, it's gonna be very instant and noticeably, jumpy. So in terms of people who have zero experience riding, I think the Yamaha R7 could be a little overkill. Not saying that you can't grow into it, because that's the thing. That's why I still recommend it as a beginner bike on certain, applications. It depends on what you're looking for, right? So if you're looking for, getting a first bike to learn on and get better on, and then eventually get a nicer, bigger bike that you want, R3 is perfect for that. Now, if you're looking for a bike that you can grow into, something that you can just get and keep for a while and not having to, upgrade consistently, then the R7 would be a great bike to grow into. Obviously, the R7 being a lot more powerful is going to be a little bit more difficult for a beginner to kind of get used to. But I think there's a lot more growing room in terms of skill level on the R3, which leads me to my next point of ergonomics and handling. So the R3 itself is a much smaller bike, so if you're a shorter person, you're gonna feel a lot more comfortable on an R3 because you can flat foot on that thing. R7 is more of a taller, wider bike, so if you're short, you're gonna have to either tippy toe or 1 foot method, which I don't recommend for a brand new rider. And one of the things for new riders is they want to feel safe and secure. Not being able to put your foot down is a very scary feeling. Now, if you're the opposite, where you're a really tall, bigger person, the R3 might feel a little bit cramped. I think the limit, at least based on experience from the people that have sat on my R3, is about 6 foot. If we're over 6 foot, you're gonna start to feel a little bit crammed. Not saying you can't ride it. Let's talk about the handling. So the R3, not only is it a little bit smaller, It's also a lot more upright. So, you know, in terms of sitting position, you're going to be more comfortable. Your back's not going to be so hunched over. And also just the bike being a lot lighter is going to be easier to handle. So, you know, when you turn, you don't got to put as much effort in. You don't got to lean as much. You know, it's just a very easy sort of lightweight bike, and it's very nimble and it handles really well, which is why a lot of people like to track the R3 or, you know, carve corners in it. I think there's a lot of learning potential with the R3 because it's such a forgiving motorcycle that you can really push it to its limits on the main road. The R7, you can't really push to its limit that often on the main road with its, you know, extra power and the excess weight. You have to put a lot more pressure into turning the bike and, you know, handling it. The Yamaha R3 and R7 are pretty similar for the most part. You know, that's why when I upgraded from the R3 to the R7, it didn't really feel like much different. It felt pretty much the same, just slightly bigger, slightly heavier, slightly faster. You know, if you want something that's a little bit more aggressive, less sort of comfortable, then get the R7. You know, it's something that's gonna allow you to really feel like you're on a real bike. You know, sometimes an R3, it starts to feel like a toy, not really like a real bike, because it's so nimble, lightweight, and small. Now moving on to the next point is the value. So there's the price difference between these two bikes, and it's nearly double. You know, so that's another thing. If you're a new rider, do you really want to shell out 2 times the price? You know, my thing is I always recommend getting your first bike as a used bike instead of buying a brand new one. Because as a new rider, you're not going to be used to motorcycles as a whole. So with that, you know, you have the potential of actually dropping the bike and causing damage on it. And so you don't want to spend all that money on a brand spanking new bike and end up destroying it, and you're gonna like feel terrible that you wasted all that money. At least with the used bike, if you were to drop it, it was a used bike. It probably has a couple dings and scratches on it already, so it's not, you know, the end of the world. You won't really be that heartbroken. But let's say you are looking at either the R3 or the R7 brand new. You know, the R3, you're gonna be spending after tax close to 6-7 grand. That's a good chunk of money for an R3, but for the R7, you're gonna be spending like 12K out the door with taxes and everything. You're spending double the price. But here's the thing, when you're spending double the price, you're not getting double the performance, you're not getting double the quality or double anything. I feel like with the R7, for double the price, you're getting 50% more performance, 50% more quality. You can't really say, you know, which one's the better deal here. It all kind of comes down to what you want. But that is something to consider. You know, do you really want to be spending all that money as a new rider, which I'm assuming you're probably fairly young, because new riders are usually in their early 20s. You probably don't have that much cash to be dropping on, you know, this new hobby. Because you got to also take into consideration the price of your gear. You know, don't cheap out on your gear. Get a quality DOT ECE rated helmet, which is going to run you at the minimum $300 for a quality one. And, you know, get some quality gloves that are going to cost you like maybe $100. And if you want like full-blown jacket and boots, whatever, let's just say you're spending close to $1,000 on equipment like gear and stuff. You also have to think about insurance and your maintenance costs. You know, R3 being a cheaper bike, your insurance is going to be cheaper. Also your maintenance, you know, parts are going to be cheaper. With a more expensive bike, you're gonna have to spend more money to even keep it, from an insurance level and repair level. Mind you, these bikes are fairly, you know, reliable. You're not gonna have, you know, much issues with these bikes breaking down. But in an event that something happens, or you wreck it, or you drop it, and you have to replace some parts, the R7 is gonna cost you a lot more money than an R3 to repair. So, closing up my final thoughts on this topic: the R3 versus the R7 for a beginner. Which one is best for you? I think if you are someone who has zero experience whatsoever and you don't have that much money, but you want a nice sports bike and you want something that's, you know, nimble, easy to learn on, that can really advance your skill level, get the Yamaha R3. It's a beautiful, amazing, good quality, good handling bike. It's not super slow like some people say it is. It has good enough power. But I will say that the R3 will probably not be your forever bike. You're gonna ride it for a few months, you're gonna ride it for a year maybe, or 2 years. You will grow out of it. I can guarantee you that. You know, I think the R3 is more of a temporary bike if you want to just get something to learn on. The R7, on the other hand, I recommend it for people who want something that they can keep for a longer period of time, something that they can grow into and also ride for years on end. It's going to cost a little bit more up front, but the thing is, it's going to be worth it in the long run if, you know, you plan to keep that one bike with you for a little while. And also, I recommend getting the R7 as a first bike if you have some experience, right? If you have zero experience, it's a little harder to recommend. You know, maybe back then when you were a kid, you rode like a dirt bike or something, or like maybe you ridden or like sat on your friend's motorcycle, or like you rode backpack before. by having a little bit of experience, you can kind of have an idea of what it feels like to be riding on a motorcycle. How to lean on a motorcycle, how to kind of gauge where you have to look. It's not like this thing's an absolute rocket ship to the point where it's not controllable for a new rider, but it definitely is going to take a little bit more effort and a little bit more awareness, and also you have a lot of self-control to be able to be patient with yourself. I can't give you a definite answer which one's the better bike. I think they're both fantastic bikes. It really just depends on the application of who you are as a rider, what kind of rider you are, and what you're looking for in a first bike. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to go follow my Instagram page in the description below called It's RickyMoto. If you have any ideas, questions, comments, leave it down below. I always respond to all my comments. You can always personally DM me on Instagram at It's RickyMoto as well. Maybe we'll start a whole entire discussion feed about this topic in, the comment section below. And, if you guys have any points or things you want to talk about in terms of the R3 versus R7, drop in the comments as well, because sometimes, people are here to look for information, and maybe you might know a thing or two that I may not know, or maybe I didn't say or missed in the video. I love to read your comments, love to see the type of engagement and share ideas and thoughts back and forth with y'all. But with that being said, this has been your boy RickyMoto, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.